You are now tuned into DAR Sports Media, and we got another media pod for you. We're back with one of these for last week's basketball pod, and we've got an interesting one this week. I'm excited to get into it. The top 10, one of our highest ranking media articles is the top 10 channels. We're gonna crack into that today. The list that True put out and kind of just go through some TV history. You have ranked it I'm not going to go in order. I'm just going to talk about the list because we got a lot of cool stuff we can talk to, a lot of ways we can group it together. You have every one of the broadcast channels grouped.
Yes, sir.
And so we got to talk about, we've already waxed poetic in the past about, we call it, the four channels. And this is the first three that comprise the big four: NBC, CBS, ABC, as well as later on PBS in the 70s, which is also on your list that we'll go into, and we'll go into some big stuff from there. So this will be a little bit nostalgic for a minute because a lot of these channels, it's been a interesting journey into the modern era and the way things are going in modern media. The first TV network was NBC, launching in 1939.
That's crazy.
The first show they had, the first dramatic TV show they had was Howdy Doody.
Howdy Doody?
In front of a live TV audience. What's crazy is the other first TV show. They had, news stuff and experimental stuff, but the first TV show they had was called Craft Variety Theater. And it was like a variety show. They did like Christmas Carol and like different musical acts, but like different skits. And the reason it's called Craft Variety Theater because it was sponsored, paid for, and was a living advertisement for Kraft cheese products, like Kraft macaroni and cheese. So
that's such a random wow fact. That's such a random wow fact.
We're gonna have a lot of awesome trivia stuff that you're gonna be able to take from this episode, and that's one of them. Like, what does Kraft mac and cheese have to do with the history of broadcast television? The first TV show, quote unquote TV show, was Kraft, as in Kraft macaroni and cheese, Kraft Variety Theater. Crazy stuff. Wow. NBC. 1939, followed shortly thereafter by CBS in 1941, and then ABC in 1948. And then PBS came along in the 1970s, I believe, 1972, or 1970, 1970. Another channel we're going to talk about came along in 1972. You ain't going to fucking believe it. But PBS in 1970. There's some things that stick out that I got to talk about each one of these channels. And then Fox, much later in the 80s, came along, and that was a revolution, which is also in the list, by the way, Fox. And we've talked about that as well. The big four, when you were a poor kid and you didn't have cable back in the 90s, early in the 80s, NBC, CBS, ABC, PBS, and then later in the 90s, Fox was added to that lineup. And then even later after that, in some areas, UPN followed that up as well. So these were the backbone of television for everyone up until cable really took root and became more common in the late 80s, early 90s. And for poor people, it remained the backbone of your entertainment experience as a child.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk about some of that and some of the things, one of the things we're going to talk about today is Nickelodeon. And I just remember the way Nickelodeon, just seeing that orange color used to make me feel. It made me, because I was just so envious of people who got to have Nickelodeon, got to watch it all the time, because I didn't as a kid. And wherever I got to go somewhere where they had Nickelodeon, it was just, I just felt so fucking cool the whole time I was watching it because it always felt so topical. But we'll get to Nickelodeon in a minute. We'll start off here with the broadcast networks. Obviously, so many backbone shows, the late night TV era. I mean, hell, that's something we'll do a whole pod about the late night TV era. It's crazy to try to explain to people now how it really is a sign of the times of like fallen kingdoms in entertainment. That, for instance, like the Letterman show, it's Colbert now, but it's Letterman's seat, it's Letterman's TV show. Like the thought of that David Letterman like show ending is just fucking unbelievable. If you grew up when me and True grew up,
Absolutely.
That's just was a same thing. SNL, Saturday Night Live, backbone show, late night TV in general. After your local news was a backbone of the beginning of public broadcasting. Still was the biggest behemoth of TV in the 90s and the early 2000s, and just to see how much it has fallen off in the last 10 years has been a wild thing to witness. But I don't know if I agree with the phrase "all things must end," but many things do, and it's just crazy to see the hold that late night TV had erode. Of course, you got stuff like MASH, you got all the classics, Miami Vice. I'm just thinking of classic old shows. The broadcast networks, man, so pivotal to people who had who grew up in the economic situation that me and you did, somewhat similar, just on opposite sides of the coast and with different surroundings. But you were surrounded by concrete and I was surrounded by mud, but close. We have this shared thing for sure. And I got a couple of ones that I just want to pick out, talk about as we're going through this. But the broadcast networks, man, stuff you want to highlight. ABC for me has always had a thing or two to show. Obviously, Fox I think has been like the most topical over the years of like things that speak to me that I want to watch, and we'll get into some of that in a minute. How revolutionary a lot of Fox was, and how much it shaped current TV now. CBS, we'll get into that a little bit in a minute. Always kind of seemed like a little bit for the older crowd, a little bit more conservative crowd. So there's not a ton of CBS memories for me. ABC, very topical. I believe that was the home. I want to say that was where Roseanne was at all those years.
ABC was Roseanne, Family Matters.
Yeah, Family Matters. They had a lot of good stuff on ABC.
A lot of that, yeah.
CBS, didn't they have a Home Improvement? I was a big Home Improvement guy when I was young.
ABC had Home Improvement, and then CBS, I think, CBS took on ABC's like leftovers after ABC got rid of that like block of television. So it was like Family Matters, Home Improvement, Step by Step, with Suzanne Summers, and there's a couple
Step
others.
By Step. Yeah, I was used to watch a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah, so there's a couple shows that like ABC had that were like really pivotal, but for the most part, I think.
Well, and what we do, we can't leave this off though. CBS is like, is there any bigger monster than all of the NCISs? Right, like they've all been going for a million fucking years. I wish we had a little bit older. I wish we had a female who was like our age, because a big part of this is the soaps, man, like the soap operas, and we don't got nobody really to speak on that too much. But the soaps have been going. Some of them have been going for 40 fucking years, like 50 years. That's some of the first pivotal daytime television. But we can talk about that too. Daytime television, the talk shows. Your Ricky Lake, your Maury, Oprah, fucking Oprah. This was the stuff, man. That was backbone stuff. We'll get into some of it. Talk to me about the broadcast networks, things that stick out to you personally. I've got a couple of things that I want to cover, a couple of shows. Yeah, go for it.
Tons of broadcast networks, like we said, ABC for me. I'll go down the line. ABC, my memories of ABC was really just Family Matters and like Home Improvement. Turn the Toolman Taylor and Step by Step. I didn't watch a lot of Step by Step, but it was like, if you don't have anything to do and you're stuck in the house, and it's like, well, I think it was a Thursday night or Friday night, whatever the lineup was. You just being a little kid, you'll sit there and you cut on Family Matters. You'll see Urkel.
Step day by day.
ABC had the fire theme songs, because the dude who made Step by Step clearly made Family Matters, because he's basically the same type of song. So, and I wasn't a big fan. I'm not a big fan of I'm not a big fan of Family Matters. I've said this many times over the years. I think Family Matters as a sitcom is up and down, but as a kid, it was something I watched just because it was Urkel, majority black cast, and that's just kind of my thing. So that's my memory of ABC. Other shows later on, like Grey's Anatomy and Lost and shows like that, like that wasn't really for me. So, as I got older, it didn't hit me like I guess it might have hit, other people. But ABC was Family Matters, Home Improvement, Step by Step sometimes. And then this is funny. ABC, The Wide World of Sports used to come on ABC. So that and my grandfather is a bowler, like a legitimate bowler. So he's been doing it since before I was born. And he used to make me sit up and watch Worldwide of Sports, and it was always
that's a generational thing. I feel like everybody that's our grandparents' age, like all those motherfuckers old.
Yeah, that's just the thing. And like he's been in leagues and doing all this stuff for years. And so he used to make me watch Pete Weber on Wide World of Sports. That was the guy, and there's a couple other people on there. So I was always watching that stuff. So that is another memory of ABC. And because obviously ABC is closely associated with ESPN. They used to have certain things on there, but I think for CBS, I don't have fond memories of. Like I know the NCIS and CSI and those shows, like they're very big, like 60 Minutes and all of those different things.
There you go.
60 Minutes was one of those. But like you can go to NBC and talk about Dateline. So it's like Dateline NBC and 60 Minutes on CBS. Like those were some shows that I would watch, and like I love Dateline. I enjoy 60 Minutes too. Man, why am I drawing a blank on the guy from 60 Minutes? God,
John Stoltz, is that his name?
Oh man, it was the maybe I'm thinking of something. This is a black dude.
Dan Rather?
No, it was a black dude. He had glasses. Why am I drawing a blank on him right now on his name?
Hold on. You just keep going. I'll look it up.
That's a memory I got of a CBS at 60 Minutes. And maybe he wasn't on 60 Minutes. Maybe it was something else. But I know it's a black dude. He was like older black dude. He had glasses. And he used to do the interviews. And I know it's not Walter Cronkite, because I don't think that's who I'm talking about.
Ed Bradley?
Yes, Ed Bradley. There you go, Ed Bradley. So that was my guy. I knew him. And then with NBC, I go to NBC. NBC, because the NBA was on NBC at the time, I used to watch Inside Stuff with Ahmad Rashad. I
love this stuff. I got
classics.
Inside Stuff Saturday mornings.
And then also NBC used to have shows for kids, like City Guys, I think it was, and a couple other shows for kids and stuff like that in the morning. So like that was NBC for me. And then obviously Fresh Prince, Seinfeld, and I mean, I didn't really watch Seinfeld and Friends that much, or Frasier, but I knew of them enough to where I was like, okay, I know these shows, and I watched a little bit of it. For me though, on NBC, show that I watched the most on NBC near my adult life was like The Office. Like that was the number one for me, and so that was number one. Well, Fresh Prince and The Office, 1 and 2, depending on the day. I mean,
that's pretty wild that a network can boast all Seinfeld, The Office, Fresh Prince. Like that's
crazy lineup.
Informative comedy.
That's a crazy lineup for any television network to have. And I think for Fox is probably of all the networks my favorite. And the reason why Fox is my favorite is because
I mean you'll get into it, but like it was made for us at the time that it was made. I don't know how else to explain it.
I'll say for me, Fox had Living Single, Martin, the PJs at one point.
Yes.
Gosh, what else, man? New York Undercover.
Talking about the late night TV. That's where the Arsenio Hall show was as well.
Yeah, I mean, man, that's a classic. And then you had like Living Single, Martin, and New York Undercover. You had the PJs, you had The Simpsons, Family Guy. Then you go to American Dad, and then Cleveland Show, Bob's Burgers. Like Fox had like all these classic shows, like all these shows. They basically became the Seth MacFarlane universe after a while with Family Guy and all that stuff like that, and then The Simpsons, obviously, and then They had some interesting shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer spinoffs. I think was on. Was it Dark Angel? Dark Angel was on Fox. Was Dark Angel on Fox? I feel like Dark Angel was on Fox. I could be wrong. But there's a couple other shows that were on Fox that were like real, like not like pivotal to me, but it had some good stuff on there. And so, obviously we didn't get to mention like UPN and WB and stuff like that. But if we did, those would be extremely important to my formative years.
Yeah, I mean it's 11 and 12, right? It's top 10.
Yeah, that's literally right. That's literally right there because they've had a bunch of great shows, a bunch of bad. UPN had a bunch of bad shows like Homeboys in Outer Space and like some of the Desmond Pfeiffer and whatever that crap was, and a couple other shows. And WB had they had Jamie Foxx, Steve Harvey, Wayans Brothers, and then they would come up with like their For Your Love show, and then they would replace one show with this. But they had something with that. The WB had something with Jamie Foxx, Steve Harvey, and Wayans Brothers. Like that was like a weekly block of TV that like everybody I knew in my neighborhood watched, and they loved it. So they would always be like, yo, I'm going to the crib tonight, man. I'm watching Jamie Foxx, watching Steve Harvey, watching Wayans Brothers. And me and my cousin would sit down sometimes and watch it. I watch with mom. Like that's what the WB meant to me. And like I said, if it wasn't for the fact, if I did only specific channels, I would have been included. If I did only network, like ranking the network, because that was a network, UPN. So those were like network. You didn't use free TV basically. So if I did that, that would have been on the list. But I already done articles like way back when on UPN and WB and stuff like that. So maybe I'll bring it back. But let's see, ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC. Like, yeah, I think out of those four, for me, probably Fox has the most significant like sentimental value, and in terms of like things I enjoy, like Martin's my favorite sitcom of all time, and it's always been my favorite sitcom of all time, like since I was a kid. So Martin is always number one. So Fox, like I said, has more sentimental value in that way. NBC probably has more of my favorite shows. Like Living Single is one of my favorite shows, but it's not at like, I'm sorry. I'm tripping. I don't know how I forgot NBC had A Different World. A Different World is also one of my favorite sitcoms. A Different World is a classic. Obviously, The Cosby Show was on NBC. Not as big a fan of The Cosby Show, obviously, for several reasons. But
not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. But like A Different World, classic too. So NBC has heavy hitters. I mean, like obviously we know the history of Cosby and stuff like that. But it's like if you're making a list, like when people make their list, The Cosby Show was on the sitcom list for plenty of years up until we found out, what type of time Bill was on. But before that, there was like this big thing about like The Cosby Show was like the quintessential black sitcom. Fresh Prince is one of the greatest black sitcoms. Different World is in that class. And, so that's all NBC.
About that. Like, I've never heard of that. Who was in Different World? What was the deal?
So A Different World is basically the spinoff of The Cosby Show, basically. It took Lisa Bonet. Lisa Bonet went to college, and A Different World is, I believe it's on Netflix still. Everybody should go check out A Different World. It is Kadeem Hardison, and Kadeem Hardison because Kadeem Hardison was in Vampire in Brooklyn. We were just talking about.
We've been talking about, yeah.
But that was his breakout role. A Different World is his breakout role. And Jasmine Guy is in there. They're doing a reboot right now for Netflix. Actually, coming later on this year, I think in the summertime on Netflix. They're doing a reboot of it with most of the original cast and new, kind of how I guess it's like Blackish. It's like Blackish has like Grownish and all those other ones. Like A Different World reboot is going to be similar to that. So yeah, but those are my favorites of the network TV era.
So we got into this a little bit off air when talking about Fox is kind of people don't realize the revolutionary type of things and the way that it's set up. What modern TV is now, a lot of people think when you think of, we're going to talk about MTV in a minute, but a lot of people think of like The Real World as like the first reality TV show. But to me, the real first reality TV show was Cops on Fox. which has been going for 6 million bajillion episodes. What I found interesting about its role in the uproar, of recent years is, for the most part, and why, of course, why wouldn't you? Because you're literally on fucking tape. But a lot of stuff on cops is the cops treating people in a manner that I think is what people would want the cops to treat people with. I mean, there's plenty of dust ups that happen on cops, but that's, because somebody tried to run, or they tried to fight, or they tried to whatever. For the most part, the cops try to at least interact, de-escalate, treat people fairly on the show. So it was weird to me that we see these examples of in real life of cops doing shit the wrong way, but instead of digging into, and this might be some of that performative stuff that we talked about over the off air a couple times, instead of digging into real reform to try and help make those things better, let's take fucking cops off the air. And it's like, what? I just, but we all know reality TV. That was like the first reality TV show. Animation, adult animation. The Simpsons is a Fox creation. What do you say about the Simpsons to fully encapsulate what they are and what they've meant? One of the longest running continuous TV shows that exists. It's the fucking Simpsons. And then you brought up already Family Guy, animation domination. Not only did they bring about like adult animation as a legitimate form of entertainment, but it was became an event, a weekly event on Sunday evenings. Like adult animation on Fox is here to stay and here to show you. And then again, revolutionary TV. You talk about the Cosbys, the anti-Cosbys, and this is always like the joke and the funny thing to talk about is like, who is the anti-Cosbys? It's a white family. It's the Bundys on Married with Children, which is still to this day a fucking hilarious fucking show. Showed these families completely dysfunctional, completely acting crazy, very trashy, but also kind of lovable. And they kind of give birth to stuff that we watch, like the Danny McBride shows that come out now. The downtrodden, kind of trashy people who are still kind of lovable when they galvanize and try to, do the right things. Any thoughts on any of those shows or what I was just talking about?
In terms of Married with Children, cops. First of all, I've never really been a cops watcher. Let's be clear. I think that's pretty obvious. Me of all people would not be someone who watches cops. Like you see it, but like in the neighborhood, that's not a show that like you sit around on the porch with the homies and be like, you see cops? Like, no, we ain't watching that. Like that's not something we watching. Like watching no damn cops. Married with Children, though, my grandfather is the biggest Married with Children. I've never met a person. He, to this day, when I talk to him, still will quote Married with Children on the phone with me. Like, and the show's been off the air, what, 20-something, 30-something? I don't know how long, how many years?
Yeah.
Like, he still quotes it. He's like, oh, you remember Al Bundy did this, and remember he was working the shoe store, and I was like, I don't remember all of that, granddad, but like, all right, I don't remember it, but like, I know you're going to tell me. And so Married with Children is a classic. I know they're doing a reunion thing or something like that, or they did a reunion thing for Christina Applegate. So that's cool. But yeah, Married with Children is probably the one for me, like I already mentioned, like I said, the animation domination stuff and The Simpsons. The Simpsons is probably the biggest show, honestly, in network television history. It
could be argued. It's if you add longevity into it, right?
Like, what TV shows do you know that are like weekly episodic television show that has lasted almost 40 years? Like, there's nothing. Like, you have the news, you have the late night show, talk shows, but this is like, you got to come up with a script, you got to come up with dialogue, you got to, that's almost 40 years of, what I mean? Like, that's crazy. 40 years of it. So The Simpsons, legendary show. But but Married with Children, The Simpsons, those are classics.
So one show I got to bring up when we're running through all of the different stuff. This I always struggle to like describe this, but just it puts such a monolith on how big of a deal the broadcast network stations were. It's a show called Unsolved Mysteries. True, are you familiar with this?
What show is this? I'm sorry.
Unsolved Mysteries.
The name is familiar.
All right,
but I don't think I've ever watched Unsolved Mysteries. But is that the one where the guy from Star Trek was?
Yes.
Okay. I haven't seen it.
Robert
but
Stack.
I remember. Yeah. Okay.
Let me try to put this into perspective for you guys. Honest to fucking goodness. It was on NBC from 1987 to 1997. And these channels were such a monolith to culture when in that time frame from 87 to 97 that this show would show various situations, different stories, and they would be like dramatized with actors, and each segment would be like, whatever, like 7, 8, 9 minutes long. Sometimes it would be like supernatural stuff. Sometimes they would do like ghost story shit or like the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot. But most of the time it was like a person that the family lost track of them, or they went to prison and escaped and we never heard from them again, or because of the timing. So some of these stories were like, I had a sister. I remember having a sister, but I think my parents gave her away to like be adopted, because the people who were calling into the show with their stories are in their usually like their 40s or early 50s. So if they're in their 40s or early 50s in the 80s and 90s, that means that they were, little children in the 50s. That makes it so back in the 50s, back then, you could just do that. You could just be like, oh, we can't afford this kid anymore. We're just going to take him and drop him off at, Auntie M's or whatever the fuck. And they would be adopted, or they would just disappear, or they'd just go stay with a relative. And like, that would be fucking that. So a lot of them was like, I think I remember having a sister when I was like 2 or 3. I've never seen them again. Missing persons, unsolved mysteries, as in like unsolved crimes, murders, things like that. And I shit you not, I swear to God, I looked it up. The viewership for this show was 17 million viewers a week. So many people would and back then there was no DVRing. Like you DVR shows, you don't get shows on demand. So like the show was on 8:00 at night on a Wednesday. 17 million people in the nation are watching that show at the same time. They would run a story 1 week. 2 weeks later, they would have a fucking update and be like, hey, we found this person's long lost sister, because so many millions of people would be watching it that the fucking person in the mystery would call in and be like, that's me. Or fucking, I think I know this person. Or no, I got separated from my parents. Somebody tried to steal me and then they dropped me off at a fucking rest stop and I've just lived my life ever. I swear to God, you could go back and watch the old episodes on Amazon. I know they have it. I think they might have it other places, and you will see every 2 or 3 weeks they have updates on like missing person cases and shit like that they aired 3 weeks before, because millions of people all used to watch this show at one time. And we also used to live in a society that was like a big fucking community where we wanted to help each other instead of constantly look for ways to tear each other down and make ourselves feel good because we're missing things in our fucking lives. Bunch of clout chasing vampire motherfucks. But it's so this just shows you the monolith and the grip that these channels had on our fucking culture back then. That motherfuckers were out here as a community in America solving fucking mysteries together because we would all watch this show at the same time. Fucking ridiculous, dude. Unsolved fucking mysteries.
That's crazy. I never knew that Unsolved Mysteries was doing those type of numbers. That's crazy. I mean, like I kind of did hear Unsolved Mysteries, but it was never like it was never a show that like I would watch. Like I said, Dateline was more my speed, more so than anything, and it was just because of the fact they would have like those scenario things, and same thing with ABC. They had ABC News where they would do like those scenarios where like that one dude, I don't know his name, but like the one dude would be like, "Oh, this homeless man asked you for $1 and you didn't do it, and would you do it?" And they had like some actors play like like I forgot what what they used to call it. What would you do? I think it was called or something like that. And so like those are the shows that like outside of my basic sitcoms and like dramas, those are the shows that I would watch. But I think Unsolved Mysteries was just like maybe it started before my time. So by the time
I
was
used to
a
watch
kid,
it with my grandparents because I when I was a little kid, I mostly lived with my grandparents, but I didn't know. I guess it was just normal to me that they were having updates and stuff. I didn't know how it didn't occur to me as a small child like how fucking insane that is. I found the show later on Amazon as an adult, and I'm watching it. I'm like, this is fucking crazy. Like they are solving these mysteries just because everyone is watching the show together at the same time across the nation. That is fucking nuts. Damn, dude. So real quick, when we talk about before we move on from the broadcast stuff, we got to talk about PBS because, and we've gone into it a little bit before, but like part and parcel, man. You want to talk about something that's backbone to like small children who were in our situation. And this, for me, I don't know about for you, how much PBS interaction you had when you were like real little. But I know that both of us, a lot of times, another thing that we have in common is that we had like no father in our lives. And a lot of times there were periods of time, especially when I was very small. I had like a woman teacher at school, and then my mom, my grandfather worked like constantly. So I didn't, so what I'm getting at is there were times when I was very small that the male role models on PBS, Mr. Rogers, LeVar Burton, and Bob Ross, were essentially the only male role models that I saw on a regular basis. And those are the only, and you don't know it at the time, and you probably don't realize it until you really think about it. But like when that's literally the only outside input that you have from males as a young boy, you are taking in things from those guys. I remember so much just how like LeVar Burton used to be so encouraging and talk about, believing in yourself and you can go do anything and be anything. And I just remember how enthusiastic he was interacting with it, like anyone, his positive energy in all of these different places that he went for the show was so strong. And like that's just how like you should be when you go, you visit people in their cultures and you hang out with different people doing different things. You're trying new things, go anywhere, be anything from out of that fucking show. LeVar Burton's enthusiastic, positive energy, connecting with everybody, you fucking name a color of the fucking rainbow. This dude went from fucking Africa to Denmark, motherfucker. And everything in between, doing everything in between, and just a shining example of like kind, enthusiastic, positive energy. Bob Ross, how Bob Ross used to approach, me, a lot of people, we would look at the things that Bob Ross would paint, and you would just see an example of how to approach a complex issue or a complex problem or a complex task with just this really calm, measured, unstoppable approach. Like he would make these paintings that are just fucking crazy, but he would just on his own pace, just speaking real gently, having a good time, like that kind of zen when approaching a really complex task that seems impossible at the beginning. Such a fucking great example. And of course, Mr. Rogers, the level of kindness and citizenship that he treated everybody with, the gentle kindness, that he treated everybody no matter what they looked like. There's a very famous clip of Mr. Rogers back when they were still fucking segregation, inviting the police officer, the black police officer, to, because he's been, the storyline was the black police officer had been doing a great job doing police work all day. His feet must have been hot. It was during the summertime. So Mr. Rogers invited the police officer to come put his feet in the pool with Mr. Rogers' feet in the pool. And they made sure to show it. And he insisted upon that being shown on public broadcast television. Him and the black cop, both of them with their feet in the pool, relaxing and just showing how normal it was and how there was nothing to be upset about. And it's kind of crazy that like on a children's channel, we can do this. And just showing the normalization of that act. And that was a very fucking brave thing. You can get fucking killed over that back in those days when that stuff was happening. And Mr. Rogers didn't give a fuck. Made sure to have that on his show. All of those things, extremely formative, extremely important. It's fucking painful to me now to think of PBS getting their funding taken, things like Reading Rainbow not being on there, because I don't know who. I mean, I know they got the shows on YouTube and they got things. What was it? Blue's Clues. That guy was very important to a new generation. I just concerns me, like, who is the guy that's on TV right now telling little poor kids who don't have a lot of parental input, you can be anything you want to be. You just work hard at it and do the right things. I don't know who was on the other end of the screen telling those kinds of kids in those situations that in this day and age. And that is, hurtful to think of. Talk to me about you and PBS, man, and any of the shows that I just talked about.
PBS, man. PBS was Sesame Street, Reading Rainbow, like you said, Bob Ross. But for me, just being honest, PBS was Wishbone and Arthur. Wishbone and Arthur. That's what I think. What I think of PBS, I just think, and it sucks too, the whole administration messing with PBS and those funded channels and stuff like that, and PBS is such a great legacy as a important channel in our life as children, and so that's why I say Arthur and Wishbone. Those were the two that I really, really watched after school. Bob Ross is always funny to me. Just watching the dude with the afro painting and stuff. Like, I just found that to be fun. But I didn't Reading Rainbow. Like, I guess was Barney on PBS too? I feel like Barney was also on PBS. Okay,
Barney was on PBS.
Okay, Barney was on PBS. Okay, that's childhood. That's my childhood. Sesame Street, Barney, and like
I'm a little bit older than you, so I was already a little too old for Barney to be cool. But like that shit,
Barney was never cool.
With fucking my little sister, the generation after me.
Oh, yeah, Barney was never cool. It was just like one of those things you just kind of watch because it's like, okay, well, it's on, and this big purple dinosaur walking around singing "I love you, you love me" and stuff like that, which was it's cute for kids. And but I remember Barney, like I said, Sesame Street was always around. Wishbone and Arthur. In terms of Reading Rainbow, like I vaguely remember a little bit about Reading Rainbow, but it's like I don't have as strong of memories of Reading Rainbow as everybody else because I would usually turn it off if it was on TV, and I would flick through the channels. But yeah, a lot of my PBS watching was always like that after school block of like Wishbone and
Wishbone
Arthur
was after school, man. Yep.
Yeah,
it wasn't like that was all else on after school for us.
It was nothing. They had nothing on it. You get home from school, it's like 5 o'clock. And then so yeah, that like I said, PBS. Those are my biggest memories. Those are my biggest memories of the Wishbone, Arthur, Sesame Street, Barney. I'm drawing a blank on like one or two other shows too, but those are the ones that stick out the most.
Is Barney black in your opinion?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think the person that was probably under the dinosaur hood might have been black. I don't know. That's a good question.
I'm talking about no. I'm talking about the character because I've heard this. I've heard this on the Ringer, Van Lathan and stuff. Like, they got this whole thing about like Barney's black, Baby Bop is definitely black. The Muppets, which one of the Muppets? And they were like, well, explain which one that you know for sure is white. And I'm like, well, I fucking know one Muppet that's white, and that's fucking Animal, obviously.
That sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right with the Muppets. Yeah.
But you've never considered it before. All right. No.
You know why? Like a big dinosaur kind of walking around and hi kids and hello and I love you. Like that didn't resonate in my neighborhood. It's like nobody's like, oh, you think Barney the dinosaur is black? I don't think that.
I feel like those conversations haven't really been. I think it is interesting though, like the lens through which different demos probably see these shows. I don't know. To me, that was never even like a thing. Barney was just Barney. The Muppets were just the Muppets. Like, but looking back on an adult, it's just funny that some people, get into those discussions. All right, let's move into cable. One minute.
I have very, very few things to say about cable.
We're gonna. It's gonna be a little bit interesting on cable because of what we just talked about.
Didn't grow watching a lot of cable. Didn't have cable, so yeah.
On to the cable channels that's on the list, and this part of the show is going to be shorter because we were just discussing, the broadcast part is because that was my cable era of my life. Very, very, very short because we didn't get cable till I was like I want to say a sophomore in high school, junior in high school. Then I left home, didn't have cable again all the way till probably 2010. So I probably had cable from 2002 to 2004, and then didn't get it again until 2010. But then by then, how much TV are you really watching? Like as grown men, like I wasn't really. I know both of us were. When I was old enough to get my own cable and secure it for myself, I had a very busy social life. Didn't spend a lot of time in front of the television. And when I was usually playing video games. And then the streaming era started to creep in. Netflix became a thing, and you just throw a documentary on. I was a big still am a big documentary guy. So
same.
Primarily, you're just watching cable for sports. That's kind of been both of our experiences. So these parts of it are a little bit going to be a little bit shorter because there just wasn't a lot of touch time for both of us with these channels. But Nickelodeon, you will be shocked as fucking shit. I was to find out that Nickelodeon's been around since 1970. 1970. Like I said earlier, I just always, whenever I would see the tape cassettes with the orange tape cassettes, I was all over it.
Yeah.
Never full time had Nickelodeon as a kid, but still was just like obsessed with the shows on there. Ren and Stimpy, Rugrats, all time classic. I used to say for a long time when I was like a teenager, I said Rugrats is my favorite show. I used to watch, Rugrats all the time.
Absolutely, Rugrats is probably that's my favorite show from Nickelodeon, 100%. That and
Kenan and Kel was a huge fucking. So Kenan and Kel was a huge fucking deal.
All that was mine. Like Kenan and Kel came later, but all that was the deal. One.
In Living Color, we forgot to mention that on the Fox thing.
On Fox. I think that's what I was thinking about when I was
very revolutionary show. Yeah. A big one for me when I was young, because my mom had a friend whose son was like 3 years older than I am. And so, when you have that type of a vibe, like you're always like, oh, you want to hang out with the older kid, like the cooler kid. And he always had recorded VHS tapes of hours of My Brother and Me from Nickelodeon. So I remember watching fucking tons of My Brother and Me from Nickelodeon.
That's a classic.
Even
one season classic.
Even into today, SpongeBob is still coming out with new movies, coming out with new stuff.
SpongeBob is a force.
Is a huge fucking deal. Still to this day, carrying the water. Nickelodeon's still rocking and rolling, man. One of the only Viacom properties, definitely not like one we're about to talk about. Still rocking and rolling, still the original content, still as topical as ever, dude. They know how to speak to kids, they know what to do, and they're still fucking doing it. Kudos to Nickelodeon, man. What a legacy, and what a safe space Nickelodeon is. Talk to me about Nickelodeon, man.
Don't have a lot of experience with Nickelodeon in terms of like watching it, but I would go to my cousin's house sometimes, and my cousin had cable, and so I would watch like Rugrats, and that would be it. Like I just, like I would just watch.
Yeah,
like I loved the Rugrats. Also, was it Rocco's Modern Life?
Rocco's
Doug,
Modern Life
I think
used to
Doug
rock.
as well.
Real Monsters. That was always fucking.
Yeah.
The cool kids were watching that
And
when I would go to their houses.
What was it? Legends of the Hidden Temple. Also,
fuck yeah, Legends of the Hidden
a good one,
Temple
too.
was
Yeah.
fucking rocking.
Yeah, that was a great one. Like Nickelodeon's had a lot of great shows, but at the end of the day, man, it's always going to be Rugrats for me. That's everything in Nickelodeon stops and ends at Rugrats, and it always will. Like I can still watch Rugrats now. Like and love to watch it. Love to watch Rugrats. Like I think, but like. I think that when people think about Nickelodeon, though, the thing they think about the most is probably SpongeBob now because it's become such a force. But like Rugrats, before SpongeBob became SpongeBob, Rugrats was that brand. They had movies in the theater. We have Rugrats in Paris. Like this is not like that's not a normal thing for a television show to have a movie. Well, definitely don't happen anymore. But back then, it was still a rare thing, even for kids stuff. It was still rare. So. Rugrats is the end all be all for me with Nickelodeon. Like they got a whole bunch of other shows that are really good. And I did like an article about Nickelodeon like months ago, and a lot of people seem to like it. But Rugrats is it. When people talk when I do this TV channels article and I'm looking at it and I'm putting Nickelodeon, I probably should have put Nickelodeon higher just for Rugrats. Just for Rugrats.
Well, Rugrats and SpongeBob, that's arguably like the two, most successful children's IP combined longevity wise, like maybe ever. Something we do got to talk about though, people in our age group that are listening to this, you can't really do Nickelodeon without talking about Snick. The Friday night, 2-hour Saturday night, excuse the fuck out of me. Saturday night, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Again, you were the coolest motherfucker in the world if you were fucking popping on Snick on the couch with your snacks, checking out, Are You Afraid of the Dark? I'm old, so it was Are You Afraid of the Dark? Clarissa explains it all. Ren and Stimpy and the Roundhouse. I used to think the Roundhouse was fucking whack as fuck. And all that.
I don't even remember what that is. Yeah. So yeah, you're right.
And all that, which we already talked about, was a Titan, and very formative in its own right. So, got any Snick stuff for me?
Not really. All You're Afraid of the Dark is probably it. Like, honestly, that's the only one I remember like vividly a little bit. But everything else, I don't really remember it that much. But
Big Orange Couch, man, in the blimp.
Yeah, like I remember a little bit of that, but not a whole lot. Like I do remember hearing of Snick, but like I said, I didn't have a lot of things. Like man, like it's funny. Like a lot of those nights, like, and it's funny we mentioned Fox, and I should have mentioned WWF Shotgun Saturday Night being on Fox at night. Like that was a thing for me where I would watch it because there was nothing else on Fox late at night, and that had no business being up, mind you, at that time. But I was staying up watching it because Stone Cold Steve Austin would be on there, and Mick Foley and those guys. So like that's that. Like I just want to go back to mention that with Fox, but like for Nickelodeon, like I said, I missed so much of that. I discovered more Nickelodeon as I got older, and then went back and revisited stuff later on and watched reruns. Well, I did get cable, and obviously, my daughter and stuff like that. My daughter loves Rugrats, and she likes SpongeBob, so that's different. Yeah, that's different. Like, so you kind of watching your kid like some of the stuff that you grew up watching it's fun, and it's really dope to see that because good entertainment doesn't get old. Good entertainment doesn't go out of style or stuff how people do like. it's classic, and Rugrats is classic. Nickelodeon has a ton of classic stuff.
Yeah,
and yeah,
I'm feel much the same way as you is as insofar as my actual touch time with Nickelodeon was very, very minimal. It was mostly being envious and man, that's so fucking cool. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I would always think of it when I was a kid, you know, kind of on the outside looking in. Talk to me about and I don't want to punt here for what would people would assume is the obvious reasons. But where I lived,
I know where you're going with this.
Yes, so, I'm serious. No,
like I already know the station. Obviously you're handing BET over to me.
Where I live,
I'm sure that's
BET was not even a part of basic fucking cable. It was it was like a premium package cable, like NFL Network was. So because I was very
Black
into
channel was included in the premium.
You know, we've talked about it. We've talked about it a lot on the show. Like black movies, I've seen them all. The black TV sitcoms, like I fucking loved them. You know, that's all that stuff was right up my alley as far as what the things I enjoy. Loved rap and hip hop as a youngster, as a teenager.
Yeah.
So that's like not the reason I would have watched BET. But even it wasn't available even on basic cable. You had to get the premium package to get BET, to get NFL Network, to get some other channels. So it just was I never got to have it. Never. The only time I got exposed to it was my early years of my old job when I moved up to the East Coast. On the East Coast, in the upper, from Baltimore to New York City, it is part of the regular cable package. So it was on, and we used to put on fucking 106 and Park in the afternoons after work. When we'd be in the little gym in the dormitory, we'd put on 106 and Park and watch it while we were working out together. But before that, like I said, even when we did get cable, it was the most basic fucking package humanly fucking possible. Definitely wasn't getting the premium package. So I never got to see it. So I mean, it sounds crazy, but like it was a premium channel in that area. I know that sounds very abnormal to you out here, and it's always been a basic cable channel. But yeah,
man, BET was important, man. Long before Baby Boy reruns and Martin reruns, BET had a lot of very foundational programming for just our community and just our neighborhoods. Teen Summit, where they would have teens come on there and talk about struggles that people face as Black teenagers in America at that time, and all across the world. But Teen Summit was very important. Obviously, 106 and Park, monster TV show. Rap City, Hits from the Streets, Sita's World, and there's a bunch of shows that I'm probably missing just off the top of my head, but BET has a ton of it. I mean, they eventually had like College Hill and like reality shows and stuff like that, but obviously the number one of them all was probably BET Uncut, that most people talk about and always bring up, because BET Uncut was like for if you were like a kid or a teenager during that time, it was just something that you watched and stayed up late. I did not, like I said, I became more aware I became more aware of like BET at Kenny's house. I watched BET at Kenny's house. Like Kenny had grown up, Kenny's family had cable, so I would go to Kenny's house and we would watch cable. And BET Uncut was one of those shows that we would watch, and we would laugh in tears at every video we saw from BET Uncut, because it was like the most independent artists that like their budget was like $50 for their music video, or they recorded it on like a really, really like shitty camera, and you can go on YouTube and look some of those videos up, and it's hilarious now. And some of them age pretty terribly, but I mean, most of them age pretty terribly. Yeah. Like Mighty Casey with the White Girl song, which I still like. It was so outlandish and so ridiculous back then. You just couldn't help but laugh and just chuckle at everything you saw. But BT is important, man. BT is important. I know it's being BT Plus is being sold off or something like that, and the deal with Paramount or something, and they're getting rid of it. And And it's very sad because BET was very important. It was very integral for a lot of us coming up. Like we watched BET when we could. Obviously, I didn't have cable, so I didn't necessarily get to watch it as often. But my cousins did. We would watch Rap City and Rap City the Basement, Big Tigger in the Booth, and I mean that's where I saw like Lloyd Banks and G Unit first freestyle, Dipset, Cameron freestyles, Prodigy and Mobb Deep, Nas came through there, Jay-Z came through there and dropped Real Respect Me and Fake Want Beef, because that's the only way we ever gonna speak in the booth. Like those are the moments on BET. Like Ludacris had one of the craziest freestyles in the booth with Big Tigger. So I like that it's a cultural like statement. BT was a cultural statement, and it's a shame we don't have those channels and those outlets. Even though it's like we don't even have a streaming service. Like we had BT Plus, but like who really was they doing it? And then most of the content on there was only like Tyler Perry's TV shows and a couple other shows and like some reruns of like 106 in Park, I think. But it's like it wasn't worth the price. And it'd be nice to have a streaming service or outlet where we could have a lot of the things that our community loved growing up and coming up. And BET represented that. And it's unfortunate we don't have that anymore. It's fortunate we don't have that, and that BET is not the same. But when it was around, like 106 in Park was the after school thing to do. Granted, it was, well, there's another channel with TRL was,
Well, I'm about to say we're
important,
gonna cross right into MTV after this because, like you said, the 106 in Park, the TRL connection. But I wanted to ask you, as the segue from BET into MTV, as a person in the music industry, why don't people make videos anymore? Like why? It feels like you could at least, even as your own independent operation, if you had a good song and a fun video, you could like put it on YouTube and get monetization, right? Like it feels like there's still a place for it in my mind.
It's hard, man. To answer that question, I'll just say, as an independent artist, and I've been an independent artist for quite some time, and I've seen a lot of success off of it. It's very hard to get people to engage with music videos today because TikTok and YouTube Reels and Shorts has kind of like deleted the ability for people to want to sit and watch a 3 to 4 minute music video. And there are plenty of people who do want to watch it, but like people can watch 30 seconds of someone eating food and like their favorite food and be like, oh, well, this is what I want to see. And I want to see this and I want to see that. And I want to see, like Drink Champs is a 3-hour podcast right now, right? But with Drink Champs, you will see literally 30-second clips of 45-second clips, and that'll have like 10 million views, 15 million views. But the full length episode will have like 300,000 views. It's the same thing with a snippet of like somebody maybe, shooting themselves in the studio, making music, and then that gets like 10, 15, 20 million views. But if you do a long form 5-minute video of behind the scenes in the studio, that may get 400,000, 500,000. It's just, everything is condensed. It's condensed into like shorter time windows, and it's easier for people to consume. So as an independent artist, like what is the benefit of creating a music video when you can?
And I guess it's easy to lose your ass, right? If you have a budget for a video and it don't hit like that with the engagement, then you're fucked.
I will say though, like as a fan of a lot of artists, there are still plenty of artists who make music videos. You just got to go to YouTube. There are like, I mean, look, I'm a Cash Money guy. Everybody know that,
Yes,
big Cash Money fan.
Videos.
BG still drop videos. Juvenile still got videos. Turk still drops videos. Granted, those videos aren't really that great, and they probably making them on like an iPhone 17 or 16 or something like that. But I see these videos. So like a lot of the old school artists or older artists still make music videos, just that the budget is probably not the same as it used to be. But you can shoot a video and edit it and cut.
What fucking much do you need now? True, let's make a goddamn music video for your next big song. Let's do it. I'll edit it. Fucking, we got this.
It's funny. I thought we used to make music videos like years ago, and we had a couple of them, but like. And we would pay, pretty decent to make them. But now, like, we know what we want to do, and we've made you know, we know how to shoot, you know, content and make it ourselves, so we would probably do that. But you know, it's just the music market is different now. You know, it's just not the same as it used to be. And
ain't no
a
fucking
lot
way.
of, you know, there's no money in the music industry anymore, and the people who do have the money are all
not sharing it.
Yeah, that's a good way. Not sharing it. That's a good way to describe it.
MTV. Oh man, you want to talk about something that's nearly impossible to explain to a modern listener what it once was. It was the, I mean, that's why it has its own fucking award show that's like serious. It was the epicenter of pop culture for like 30 fucking years. It was everything that modern current pop culture was. It was the cool thing. And it felt like almost fucking overnight. It went from its apex to like gone over a couple of years. It's an insane thing to think, because when I was in high school, when you were in high school, that's when it was at its absolute fever fucking pitch peak. You want to talk about shows that millions of people watch together at the same time. You were talking about 106 in Park, but also the big dog was Total Request Live, TRL. Hard to describe if you weren't there, but you would have the top 10 music videos in the country. People would call in. People would, I think it was all calling. I want to say email, because people didn't really fuck around with a computer like that back then. So it was all call-ins, and people would vote for their favorite videos throughout the day. And the top 10 would come out, and motherfuckers would live and die by who was won the day, who got number one. It was genuinely the biggest thing happening with anybody from the ages of 12 to 30 every single day. It was the biggest thing. It reached its apex 2000, 2001, 2002, really like 97, 98, 99. That's when the whole boy bands versus metal thing was going on. You had your Backstreet Boys and your NSYNC against, and Britney Spears was in the mix too. Christina Aguilera was in the mix as well. Don't want to disrespect nobody. Titans of fucking pop music at the time was in the mix going against Korn and Limp Bizkit. Sometimes some Metallica. I remember I used to get fucking hyped whenever a rap video would make it on there in the top 10. DMX did a couple of times. Huge fucking deal. Total Request Live, man. MTV, epicenter of what was cool. Again, revolutionary for bringing us, for better or worse, reality TV. A lot of people point to The Real World was the original thing, but they had two shows at the time. It was Real World and a show called Road Rules. And Road Rules was actually,
I remember both of those.
They had their first season before The Real World. I'm trying to even fucking recollect what Road Rules was about. Basically, it was like Real World, but they were all like on a bus, like in cars, and they would be like on this crazy road trip, and they have challenges on the way during the road trip, and you would see how these people would really interact. And then Real World was the season after that. Very insane TV. Very, like, if you look back on it, it's a time capsule. I believe it was, can't remember if this is the third. I want to say it was either the third or the fifth season of Real World. Real World San Francisco, where they had a gay man on, and this is back in, again, like the mid 90s. This is back before, we've come, and we ain't come, as far as we would like to, obviously, but we have come about 50 fucking nautical miles away from where we were at in the mid 90s when it comes to the way homosexuality is treated. And it was fucking nuts. There was a gay man on the TV show, but there was also, I don't even know how to explain how the guy, Puck was his name. I've met 1,000.
I definitely remember. Okay, I remember.
I've met 1,000 Pucks where I fucking live. I know that guy reeked of weed all the time. I know he had his little beanie with like the Willy, the fire drop guy. His indie t-shirts. Like, I've met 1,000 of those guys who are just ignorant stoner skater fucks. That's not saying that everybody, the skating community is fucking very, very cool, actually, very welcoming a lot of the time. But there are people like that. And he just treated this guy like absolute fucking shit. Crazy. It was a crazy season. It was a crazy season. It was a crazy time to be alive to watch it. Other MTV stuff. I mean, I'm not in the right age group to be able to really discuss the Jersey Shore, but that was so. You talk about like the granddaddy of reality TV was the Real World, Road Rules, and then later Survivor. Forgot to mention that when we were talking about NBC. Survivor, man, fucking my grandma fucking loved that show. What a titan that show is. But the mother of current reality TV, really the real birth of what we know as current reality TV was Jersey Shore. But neither one of us, that ain't no fucking, but that's exactly why, because most of the reality TV that's on now ain't for us either. And neither was that. And so that's why I say it was the birth of modern reality TV. I fuck with Road Rules. I fuck with Real World. I used to watch that when I was young. But the current modern reality TV and what it is these days, not something that's for me or you. And the Jersey Shore was the first one. MTV Spring Break used to be I can't even describe how fucking, again, culturally significant the broadcast of the MTV Spring Break events used to be. It was the fucking coolest thing that was going on in the Western fucking hemisphere. And I'm not even joking. The MTV Spring Break events, concerts, special shows, all of that stuff. And see where it's at now. And to see, like I said, TRL and the music video itself probably hit its apex from like 98 to 2001, 02. And then, man, by like 06, 07, it was fucking gone. It was over. And they became essentially a reality TV show. I remember Metalhead's Ball. I can't remember the fucking name of it. The metal show that used to come on, Headbangers Ball. Sorry, I'm so fucking sorry, everybody. Headbangers Ball used to come on in the middle of the night. All the fucking crazy rock music videos. I know we don't fuck with Marilyn Manson anymore, but the Marilyn Manson videos used to be insane to watch as like 10, 11, 12 years old.
He was all over the place back then.
Lord, yeah, the Metallica videos used to be on that you couldn't watch during the fucking day. 9 Inch Nails, crazy fucking videos that you couldn't watch during the fucking day. That show was nuts. Yo MTV Raps, of course, very, very serious. I don't know why my mind is blanking on what was the other show, the rap show that used to be on, fuck, I can't believe I can't remember it, because it used to be, I used to fucking live for that fucking show. It had Funkmaster Flex and Sway on it.
I can't remember the name. I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name.
I'll look it up. You talk to me about MTV.
I don't have a lot of MTV memories, man. I'll be honest. Like MTV was kind of like the BET was what we watched. TRL is my main memory. I remember a little bit of like the Real World just because of some of the stuff that I saw. I remember the Puck character. I remember that one dude from, I guess, the New Orleans season that used to sing, and he was like a singer. Yeah, and he went on Chappelle's show or something like that, and did something on there when they did Mad Real World. But other than that, man, I don't have that many memories of MTV outside of TRL and a couple of other shows. I know Daria was a really popular show for MTV and a certain like demographic of groups of people. Yeah, I like the Real World and TRL is like the only thing that I think about, because I did not watch Jersey Shore. Jersey Shore had nothing that I wanted to see.
My MTV era. It was called Direct Effect, by the way. That was the fucking rap show that I was talking about. The show was called Direct Effect. I found it. They had this big battle rap. I want to talk to you about this because you're like a battle rap guy. They had this big battle rap tournament on it, in addition to music videos and live performances. The king, kind of like the King of New York. Are any of these names legendary in like battle rap? Breeze Ever Flowing, Black Ice, Hom. There was a few other guys. E-Money. Any of those guys? You've heard any of those guys in your travels in the battle rap game?
No.
Okay, maybe it's fucking old as shit. This was like 2000, 2001 when this happened. So I'm not surprised by that.
Maybe one of those names is vaguely familiar, but not that familiar.
Speaking of Fallen Kingdoms. It's really a shame, man. What when you say the name ESPN, how people feel when you say that name, because that was not the fucking case back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. That was not. ESPN really was like everything that you could ever want for it to be. PTI is still around, but like they had that. They had just Sports Center anchors were like characters in and of themselves, and they were fucking great. God bless, rest in peace, Stuart Scott, John Saunders as well. Very formative for fucking me. Sunday Reporters on ESPN. Great sports coverage. It was primarily sport. It was primarily Sports Center. All these different sports that you wouldn't see. They would play old school sports, retro stuff. It was all about the sports. A little bit of personality in some of their Sports Center anchors, and a couple of the only talk show used to be PTI, and it was Wilbon and Kornheiser, and then later on it was Around the Horn with all of the cast of characters that came in then, and that was cool because that gave so many people their starts in doing TV and doing content and doing where they ended up now, and now ESPN is, and so many things that we take as normal or for granted now, like started ESPN. The draft is like the biggest one that I can think of. NFL draft being broadcast on ESPN. That's a huge event now for the NFL. Kind of unthinkable before ESPN was like running with it. It really it hurts, man. It hurts where ESPN is and what they are and what they seem just fucking determined to be. It seems like they can't do nothing fucking right now. The rollout of this, whatever the fuck this streaming, I still don't understand what the streaming fucking thing is, and I'm fucking subscribed to it. I'm
never subscribing to that ESPN shit. That shit is like $30 a month. I'm not subscribing to anything over like 5 to 10. That's it. Yeah. That's my limit. So
for sure.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. But I think ESPN. Once upon a time, man, ESPN was the end all be all. I mean, obviously, I still watch ESPN stuff because I watch basketball games and I watch all the sports games, football and stuff like that. But ESPN at one point in time, man, like even First Take was entertaining at one point when it was Skip and Stephen A. Even though you knew it was a bunch of ridiculousness and a bunch of fluff, but it was still entertaining enough that you watched. Like most of Stephen A's best moments came during that era because he was giving you gold.
It got turned into what it is because like, oh, we like this guy. He's what he is.
Yeah. And so and like you said, Pardon Interruption and Sports Center and just it's just a number of great shows that were informative about sports and also gave you content. ESPN, obviously they had like 30 for 30 stuff, which I still think is some of their best work that they've ever done.
Fuck yeah.
It's amazing. So I do give ESPN their flowers in that way. Like they had a good run, but the last 10 years have been very, very bad for ESPN. And without them having the rights to air games, I would have zero reason to watch ESPN ever. So
that's a damn shame, man.
And that's where they are, though. So it is what it is. That's the game. That's how it goes.
What does it tell you about cable television that every single one of these channels that we're going through essentially are dying or dead? Time's almost up. That's what it says.
It's sad. It's actually sad,
baby.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in a certain way, HBO, which is.
No, I mean, wait to spoil what the last one we're talking about.
It's the last one, but yeah.
I mean, even in its own way, though, like if HBO was so fucking great, I don't know if Warner Brothers would be getting sold. HBO Max only does. They're the lowest of the major streaming networks as far as viewership. They only do 2% of the total viewership of the major streaming networks.
That's because AEW is over there. That's what that is. But I couldn't resist taking the shot. I couldn't resist taking the shot.
So, HBO, you will never fucking guess, has been around since 1972.
That kind of makes sense. I think that kind of makes sense a little bit. Yeah,
and furthermore, started off available. This is a great trivia fucking deal right here. This is a great trivia answer. You know, the first broadcast area that HBO was available to? Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania.
That's funny. I would have never guessed that's where they was available.
What? Yeah. That is true. You can look it up.
I have questions as to why that's the case, but yeah.
They continued to expand out of there, became the first nationally broadcast over satellite channel of all of them. Pretty fucking crazy on that. HBO, the original idea was, and again, we keep talking about it, but like these things that are, you know, we take for granted that we realize it's like, oh yeah, this is how it works. But like at the time, all of the things I'm talking about were like the first one to do this, the first. So they were the first. So the idea was, we're bringing the experience of the movies into your home, hence the name Home Box Office. When this channel was created, back when me and True were, you know, knocking dinosaurs over the heads of clubs, you used to get your movie tickets at the movie theater in a little thing at the front called the box office. That's where you would buy your ticket. So Home Box Office, that's how you would pay an extra for they were the first pay extra premium channel as well. That's another thing. First pay extra premium channel, first satellite broadcasted channel over the entire nation. And the idea was to bring the movie experience as far as no commercials, uncut, cussing, titties, killing, whatever the fuck, involved in the show, bring it to your house. And that was their key. You still around to this day, still dominant as far as cultural relevance. I mean, you could just go on and on and on. The shows, you could talk about personal favorites. You could talk about ones that are culturally impactful. Some of them are one and the same. In the modern era, I mean, you know, you got your Seinfelds, you got your MASHs, you got those shows that were dominant over culture. But, and you know, this is what's crazy about Game of Thrones is how many people who never, were into stuff where you go out into that's where, I've heard big media names say, go into the woods. I don't do stuff where we go into the woods. Those types of shows with cloaks and swords and armor and knights and shit. It brought a ton of people into that type of a thing. And what's funny to me is, just going off on a little tangent, as somebody who's like a big history guy and who loves all of those kinds of shows. It made me feel like, I think a lot of these people always wanted to watch stuff that involved that. Maybe they just felt a little nerdy, but then when it became so popular, I was like, oh, okay, it's okay for me to watch that. So it brought them in too. But the Game of Thrones, just show after show after show that are the biggest fucking things that were going at the time, known for being super, not that they've never missed, because they've had plenty of misses, but like known for super high quality, the Wire, The Sopranos, so just classic after classic after classic after classic, man. It's a shame what's going on with, who knows what the future is with HBO. I would think with the money that Paramount paid for it, they would keep all of the branding, keep all the stuff, and keep the major properties, because like, why the fuck do you buy HBO if you're not going to utilize HBO? But who knows? And that was something that we thought of when we want to talk about, earlier when we talked about how CBS has always kind of been, for the older crowd, for the conservative crowd, well, they're trying to shift into being for a lot more than that now, because they're buying, they bought the UFC, they bought, not that, talking about the older, maybe not the conservative side, but the older side, they're trying to shift away from that a little bit. They bought the UFC, they're bringing in all the Warner Brothers stuff.
I love that you said that. I love that you. I just find that funny. Like you're going away from maybe not the conservative side with the UFC. That's funny.
Nobody's nobody's fucking.
Everybody can
UFC's
tell
a very fucking conservative centered fucking promotion. Ain't nobody saying nothing about that on this show right now. Instant.
That's a fact. You ain't lying.
But CBS parent company is Paramount, and they are trying to change some of the perception and some of the target audience that they go for, and that is why they bring in HBO and all those things that go with it. HBO, man, the first of its kind, for my money, the best of its kind. I still feel like the name carries a ton of clout. Still a lot of huge things going on. HBO, rocking and rolling. You actually had it ranked number one. Talk to me about HBO, man.
I just think HBO, when it represents, is why it's number one. In terms of like the channels, it's a like, think about it. Where's Nickelodeon, right? Nickelodeon is on Paramount Plus. That's where you get most of your stuff. Where is Fox? Where is NBC? NBC's on Peacock. Fox is on scattered everywhere. PBS. Where do you find PBS shows on streaming like that? So when I thought about it, I was like, HBO has its own streaming service through like the Warner Brothers stuff. Obviously, things are going to be different now. And like Game of Thrones is regarded as one of the best shows of all time. The Wire is regarded as one of the best shows of all time. The Sopranos are one of the best shows of all time. I don't have, they used to have like Real Sex was a show that was like groundbreaking from the time.
Big fucking deal. Groundbreaking. Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a number of other shows on HBO that are very popular, very well known, very well liked, very loved. And that is what makes the difference, I think, in HBO as a cable network, more so than anyone. I think AMC had a run that could rival HBO, but HBO continues. And even now they have that the Heated Rivalry, the hockey show, and then they have like the industry show. They have a bunch of other shows that they have that are still popular to certain demographics.
Game of Thrones universe.
And still Game of Thrones, the House of the Dragon was one.
House of the Dragon, Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah.
They had that Mark Ruffalo show that I heard was really good. The crime one. I need to fucking watch it badly.
There's a ton of HBO shows, and I think their consistency over the years is why they were number one for me.
Something that a lot of people thought was the best show of the year last year, the Penguin show, was fucking amazing.
Yep, and that Penguin show is pretty good too. So I mean, they have a ton of shows that are very, very well received by the audience, and that is what makes the difference. That is what makes them ahead of everybody else because of that fact.
Catalog.
Yeah, the catalog is crazy.
They have always delivered on what they claim to be. Ain't none of this MTV switching up, fading away. None of this ESPN switching up, fading away. None of this BT switching up, fading away. HBO has been HBO and has delivered on what it says that it is year in, year out for 40 fucking years, 50 fucking years.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think the legacy of HBO will always, it'll be impossible to top in terms of any network, cable or otherwise. And honestly, in entertainment, it's a very hard one to top in general. So HBO is my number one. Obviously, I didn't have a lot of experience growing up with HBO because I didn't have cable, and HBO was like a premium network.
Yeah, no, for sure. HBO was definitely a much later in fucking life thing for me. Shit, it was.
So but I went back to revisit a lot. I mean, obviously, The Wire was important to me. Growing up in Baltimore, everybody still right now still. Right. That's like a lot of the neighborhoods and stuff like that. Like I've been through my entire life. So, my mom grew up in one of those projects that was featured in The Wire. So like that, it's a little different. It's a little different for me. But Sopranos, I actually got into the Sopranos later on. And like when I started watching, I was like, this show is hilarious for all the wrong reasons, but it's hilarious regardless. And then, like you said, they're still making shows that people enjoy, still making stuff that people want to see. And if you go to HBO Max, the catalog is crazy. Their catalog is ridiculous. It's top tier. So HBO is my number one. I just don't have many memories because I didn't watch a lot of it growing up. So yeah.
Some other fun trivia for you guys to take with you. The first thing that was ever broadcasted on HBO, ironically, given that they have just recently gotten back into live sports, was the New York Rangers against the Vancouver Canucks, Madison Square Garden. Directly after that, the first film they ever showed on HBO was Sometimes a Great Notion, starring Paul Newman and Henry Fonda. I'm fucking that. No one ring, don't ring a bell. The original channel HBO resided upon on cable systems. Channel 21. We hope that we here at DAR Sports Media can maintain quality in the manner that HBO has for 50 years. May we have a 50-year empire as well. This has been a long one, so we're going to get you up out of here. Check us out on United Football Media for football coverage, UFL. Be looking out for the basketball pods. And, of course, we'll be keep coming with the media ones. You guys keep pumping those numbers up over there on the Medium site, and we will deliver for you. If there's any channels or anything extra that you guys want us to dig into from this subject, just leave it in the comments. We're here for you. We'll be happy to do so. This is DAR Sports Media, and the world of DAR never stops.